HIJKLMNOPQRSTUVWXYZ. Do you know your ABC of how to tell a story? Tell me more, tell me now. If you don't know, then let me tell you how. Hi, this is Rituparna and you're watching my weekly video blog of ABC of Storytelling on Your Story Bag, where every week we share a tip, trick, technique or little secret from my story bag. Well, this week we have the letter K for you, and we have two Ks. One is K for knowledge and the other is kinesthetic. The first K that we talk about today is K for knowledge. Knowledge is a great starting point to begin a conversation with your audience before you really get into the story. For example, if you were to share a traditional tale from Africa like this one, Why Elephant Has a Trunk, you could speak to your audience about what do they know about Africa, what do they know about the African animals, are they any different from Indian animals or Asian animals that they have seen. Have they ever wondered where did the elephant get its trunk from? And there are a whole bunch of stories around the same theme of how does a giraffe have a long neck, or how did the leopard get its spots. So these are popular traditional tales and from Africa, and they are myths. So before you perhaps tell a story of a similar kind, you could speak to them about the genre. You could speak to them about the plots in the story. Have they ever heard of it? Have they ever wondered why do certain things happen? And with that understanding, you will know whether the children are thinking, whether the children are aware, what is their vocabulary, what kind of vocabulary do they use, have they read similar stories, have they heard similar stories. For example, in one of my sessions I went and told a story, and then I got to know that that they have already heard that story before, and it was wrong of me because I never announced what story I'm going to tell. But when I asked them if I told the story any different from the other storyteller that they had heard, and they said, oh, it was completely different. So again, that's a good idea, that if they've heard a story, you may want to not tell that story, you may want to change the story, or you may want to tell a different one altogether. So that's a great idea. Remember in my first video on A for ask, I had asked, you could ask your audience what kind of stories do they like. With that understanding, you may have gone prepared for a different kind of a story, but your audience does not like that particular genre. So a bit of knowledge, a bit of understanding, even right before, minutes or seconds before you begin telling a story, is of great use. You know where to pitch the story, you know how to assess the understanding levels of your audience based on their age, based on the kind of school or the home that you're going to. So it's great to understand the knowledge, or have a basic knowledge of your audience. The second K that I have is kinesthetic. There are all kinds of learners in our classrooms, in our homes, and it's important to acknowledge and give the kinesthetic learner the kind of stories that they're looking for. For example, a child may not be very interested in a book like this, where you're reading a book and going page by page, reading it out, enjoying the story. Sometimes even making a game out of a story is a great idea. So I have popular, these are wooden toys that I have used from my son's collection, and I have used them over and over again to make different stories. Remember, children grow up doing a lot of pretend play, and at some point of time they stop doing pretend play. I think all children are very kinesthetic learners. They love to make up stories, they love to use their toys, they love to create dialogues with them and tell a story over and over and over again. So maybe sometime give a chunky tool, a storytelling tool or an aid to a child, which prompts them to use it in a particular way and tell a story. At the same time, sometimes role play is another great way in which you can engage little audiences and get them to get up on stage after you have told the story, get them to enact it. Perhaps it's a great idea to tell a story and enact it live. I have told this one story in a fair, and we had lots of children come up to the stage to enact the story as and how I was telling it. At another point of time, I've taken the story to a certain point and to the perhaps the climax, and I have left it there. Then putting children in groups, helping them resolve the conflict by role play. So there are various ways in in which you can prompt a kinesthetic learner, where you can encourage a kinesthetic learner to learn, or let's say tell a story in his or her own particular way. So go ahead and make an inclusive classroom, assess the knowledge, encourage the kinesthetic learner to tell stories. I think it's kinesthetic storytelling in that case. Go ahead and have a lot of fun, and tell me if this is useful to you. Until next week, keep following your story bag, watch our videos, keep updated, follow our page, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Remember to come back next week, next Sunday, for another letter from the ABC of storytelling. Until then, tata, bye bye, and happy storytelling.